Hello everybody, I am Jmulls of Jmulls Gaming, and let's go over my midway impressions in Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail. I have finally made it into the level 96 quests for Dawntrail, so spoilers up to then, and around there, cause I'm on the quest called Together as One, basically. Spoilers from the beginning to there. Now, in my first impressions video, I talked about how I like how they generally handle world building, which is by tackling multiple different things at once and expanding and hinting at things to come, all in the guise of what may be considered or feel as if it's filler, because in the long haul it can retroactively recontextualize those scenes and make them feel far more important. When I made that video, I didn't anticipate Dawntrail being as boring story-wise as it ended up being for that first half, because Dawntrail for the most part seemingly is the tale of two halves. You have this first half, which is that summer vacation, let's go try and get Walkthroughs to be the new Dawnservant. And then you have this back half with Solution 9, the City of Gold, and all this cool, really sci-fi stuff. And the story is absolutely picking up, and I'm way more invested and intrigued by what's going on. And it seems like the writing overall has taken a massive step up once I got through that point of no return. The problem is that slow burn needs to burn more than with like 2 embers. You have the entire Rite of Succession, which is essentially just a bunch of repetitive tasks of us going to a new region, learning about them, in possibly the most boring way possible. And we're doing these like seemingly menial tasks over and over and over again, with the exception of the Yokoi. I thought they were pretty cool. And there's nothing wrong, right? There's nothing wrong with having a slower pace or a bit of a more upbeat tone to it compared to where we were with Shadowbringers and Endwalker. Nothing wrong with that. The problem I have is the actual writing itself feeling stale, boring, and one-dimensional, which is not what I come to expect out of Final Fantasy XIV. The activities you do here aren't anything that's particularly memorable. For instance, back in those level 90 quests that I liked at the time, I'm looking back on it and I'm like, we did all of this in lead up to Walkthroughs trying to tame an alpaca, and then we got sidelined at the very end and didn't see or interact at all with that. The Aaronville stuff and the Cryo stuff we got there was nice, but everything we had built up to there, we just weren't shown. Then we went to build a float or something over to Kazumaoka with the bird people. And as time went on, one of the biggest crippling flaws of Dawntrail started to rear its ugly head and become far more noticeable for me, and that's the character of Walkthroughs. I think she's one of the worst characters Final Fantasy XIV has had, particularly because of how important of a role she has played and essentially acting as the main character of Dawntrail up to this point. She's woefully inadequate, not fit to be a ruler of like even an HOA. Keep her away from the throne. And she borderline feels like a parody of a lot of shonen anime. You know, friendship is power, we gotta do this together. Like how people meme on Fairy Tail. I even like Fairy Tail. But like, the way people meme on that, imagine if that was a character that's Walkthroughs. She has this one really cool moment where she goes toe-to-toe with the cool Jaja, and you get to play as her in that section, but that's like the only cool moment she has. The only moment where she's able to stand on her own, like 2 feet, and do something and contribute. Everything else, she's hard-carried by everyone else. Which, yeah, is kind of the theme of Dawntrail, they gotta work together, but at the same time, as a leader, you want someone a bit better than that has to just rely on everyone else to pick up their slack. I think the voice acting is also a bit suspect when it comes to Walkthroughs. Oh! And some other characters overall. The direction just not exactly there as much as it used to be. The screams are borderline comedy, and nothing just sounds natural.
For you, Papa!
May they shine resplendent, and their rule bring light ever greater to Tuliolo!
For the most part. And when you have these characters like Walkthroughs essentially just saying, we gotta work together, go team, we have to understand each other, yay, over and over and over and over again. There's payoff when the City of Gold people invade Tuliolo. There's payoff there where Walkthroughs realizes sometimes you gotta go to war. There's payoff there. The problem is the pacing so off and that first chunk of the game is so elongated to where you're just hearing the same repetitive dialogue and the force feeding of the same theme over and over and over again. It borderline resembles a gacha game in terms of the storytelling quality. Maybe this will be a hot take. I think Lise was a better character throughout 4.0 than Wu Clement. Like, Lise had her issues, but it's like I kind of cringe when Wu Clement talks for the most part. And she started off okay enough, but it's just as time goes on, and as you hear essentially the same dialogue come out of her over and over and over again, it gets so draining. And the actual activities you do in this like 90 to 95 bracket for the main story aren't inspired either. Like, there's a lot of things that just feel as if they're time filler or just filler on the whole. And I think no place better exemplifies this than what I like to call Cowboy Land. Imagine if Texas was a zone in Final Fantasy XIV. That's essentially Shaoloni. Basically, Wu Clement becomes the new Dawnservant alongside her brother Kona. That's okay. I kind of don't mind the theme they're going for that. Even though, again, no one that was a promise is remotely competent enough to be a leader. At least they're going in a cool direction with Zoralja. We'll get into that in a second. But we get there. We come right outside the City of Gold, and it looks so cool and interesting, and you get the feeling that something cool is really about to happen finally throughout this entire experience. And then you just walk away. You don't even walk away. You get teleported back to Tuli Yolal. Like, Galul Jaja just comes out of nowhere, goes, "Hey, you did it, you won, congratulations. Yeah, this is the City of Gold. We can't go in there, though. Let's go back." And you get, like, ported back to Tuli Yolal, and then you have the Ascension ceremony for Wu Clement, who also brings Kona as co-Dawnservant, and you're like, can we go back to that really cool, like, Matrix location? That was awesome. What do you mean we can't explore it right now? Let's go back there. And then you and Aaronville screw off to, like, Cowboy Land, Shaloni, and I'm like, okay, I guess we'll go back there at a future time? I feel as if I have blue balls to the nth degree, but okay. And the start of Shaloni's pretty fun, and you can feel Wu Clement not being there because the dialogue is not insufferable anymore. And they, like, lean into the old Western stereotypes, like those old cowboy movies, like, lean into them. And Estinian just shows up, which is funny. And it's a great moment. It's a great scene. Slight issue, they then drag this out for, like, hours, where you go on this weird side quest with Aaronville to go get back a bracelet someone stole that Wu Clement gave to someone else as a gift. And there's moments there that are fine, but again, having this follow up the reveal of the Golden City that we saw in the launch trailer, I'm like, okay, can I go back there though? Please? And then we have another train pod, and at this point, it has to be on purpose, because they even directly mention the Shadowbringers trolley section, which I kind of found funny. But there's been some earthquakes that are weirdly localized, could be an explosion, who knows? So the tracks are damaged, and we have to go repair them, but we need some special kind of wood, so we have to go talk to a bunch of cat people hippies, have a yap session about nature or whatever, and then we gotta drag the wood all the way back, and then we get the invasion force. When I look back on it, right, the actual story beats that happened throughout Dawntrail up to this point aren't necessarily that bad. The problem is the pacing. It's far too slow and meandering, and they rely on the carrot on the stick method, to where you know it's going to go pear-shaped at some point. You know that there's going to be a cool sci-fi city down the line with an invading force. They're going to wreck house in Tuliolol. You know that's going to come because they showed it in the launch trailer. So throughout this entire first half of Dawntrail, you're just progressing, waiting for that moment, and progressing through, quite honestly, one of the worst parts in all of Final Fantasy XIV that feels more akin to the style of storytelling we got back in A Realm Reborn than in any of the expansions. It's almost as if you took the trolley section from Shadowbringers, which has its good qualities to it. The problem is, it's just too slow, and inserted at a bad time, and if you took that one section and then made it 5 levels long, that kind of describes this first half of Dawntrail. And, like, I can get over that, 100%, if the back end is far better. And to be fair, it's trending in a really good direction. We got Y'shtola back, we got Grahatia back. Okay, Wu Clement, like, got over, like, Galul Jaja dying, and now she's learning some really good lessons, is becoming far less annoying. Hopefully that holds true. I understand that they're going for this, like, initial first half to be that summer vacation, but I just think it fails to do that in an interesting or engaging way. You don't have to go to the depths or the emotional literal pits that Shadowbringers and Endwalker delve to, but you have to have something. And this first half just didn't have anything. They built up Velagamanda, but they barely showed anything of him doing things. We have the Echo. Show us scenes of Velagamanda being a boss. Show us scenes of him ravaging the land, not just the after effects. When he awakens, show us a scene of him actually being a threat, not just like unleashing one wave of fire and then screwing off. The only time we actually got to see him be active was in the fight itself, and he dies right at the end of it. And it's just whatever. The fight itself is really cool. We'll get into that in a second. But it's a good microcosm of Dawntrail, where they continue to tease things over and over and over and over again, and make you think this is going to get way better at a certain point in time. The problem is, this like lull period lasts way too long, and completely outstays its welcome. If it was just the level 90 quests, and they really explored some interesting things, and we did some really cool stuff after that, I would have been fine with it. The problem is, the Warrior of Light feels like a side character. And also, we engage in some of the dumbest moments I've seen. Like when Galul Jaja dies, we just stand there and watch. The moment Zorel Ja got up from that fight, we should have been on him like a spider monkey. The fact that Wuklamat got kidnapped made it feel incompetent, because you have interesting story beats, but the writing is so subpar and basic and one-dimensional throughout, and repetitive, that it brings the whole thing down. And when you combine that with really Tar-like pacing, I can't help but be disappointed in this first half. But again, Zorel Ja looks really cool now! Someone in my stream chat mentioned he looked like one of the elites from Halo, and I'm like, yeah, now that you mention it, he no longer looks kind of derpy, he looks awesome! The invading force, finally, we got some actual plot development, and moving the story forward in an interesting way. I'm really excited to see what this, like, back end of Dawntrail has to offer. I really am, because I'm still in the level 96 quests, so there's plenty of time for there to be a bunch of great and amazing stuff, and from what I hear, the back end is so much better than the first half, and that gives me a lot of reason to be optimistic. Now, what has been the aspect of Dawntrail I've been the biggest fan of? That is fight design. I've liked every dungeon boss so far, and I think Velagamanda is a really cool fight. They're experimenting with new ways to visualize mechanics. They're experimenting with, like, more mechanics that are mandatory to deal with, even in normal mode dungeons or just leveling up. There's a few 1v1 scenarios, and I really like them. Like the fights against Galul Jaja, great. They remind me of the Xenos 1v1 at the end of Endwalker. I love it when they do stuff like that, because the fights are really fun, and I love the environments and the dungeon bosses in Dawntrail. I think the trash is just basic, tedious, and boring, as it always is, but the bosses are really fun, and I like that. I've been really enjoying the act of playing Dawntrail when there's actual stuff to do, and I think Viper and Pictomancer are both a ton of fun. I've been highly enjoying both of them. I don't think I would main Viper, but I would love to have an alt for Viper. I would love to play it every now and then, because I think the playstyle, while being simple, can be fun, and I think Pictomancer is one of the most well-designed jobs I've ever seen them make. Dawntrail, in a lot of ways for me, in this like halfway point, has been a tale of ups and downs. Some really low lows that wildly outstay their welcome, largely relegated entirely, actually, to the actual story going on, and the new characters introduced with Dawntrail and Wuklamat especially. But then there's so much good. I love the jobs, I love the fights, I love the environments. It's a beautiful game. The graphical overhaul makes the game look so much better. I love the music. Good God, the Tuliolol main city theme. I love the soundtrack overall so much. It's just a shame that 90 to 95, you really feel a dip in storytelling compared to Endwalker and compared to Shadowbringers, hell, even compared to Stormblood and Heavensward. I think this first 5-level bracket, every other expansion was better. Again, I can get over that if the back end is really good. And to be fair, it's shaping up to be really interesting and fun. And I'm super excited, and honestly, I kind of want to just end this video so that I can boot up stream and then go do that. Because make no mistake, they still have their claws in me. I need to know what happens next. But yeah, with that, I think I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts, your opinions on the first half of Dawntrail. You know the part I'm talking about, like 90 to 95. How'd you feel about it? Did you feel it was too slow? Did you enjoy it? Because I would still say that I liked it. It's just not as much as I wish I did. And it really started to drag at the end there. But right as I was reaching my breaking point, they do the invading stuff, and it's really cool. So, thank you all for tuning in. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you liked the video and you want to see more content. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.